අද්විතීය 200 Mbps ස්පීඩ් එකකින් ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ වේගවත්ම සහ පුළුල්තම හෝම් බ්‍රෝඩ්බෑන්ඩ් සම්බන්ධතාවය වන SLT Mobitel දේශීය ෆයිබර් බලවේගය ඔබත් අදම අත්විඳින්න.
හරිම සුදුයි.
Tonight on First at 9, this Monday, the 4th of September 2023. Channel 4 fiasco. UK's Channel 4 teases damning evidence surrounding Easter attacks. However, other sources and national security expert Rohan Gunaratne argue differently. Gas hike. Litro gas hikes domestic gas prices after global price hike forces revision. Rainy rains. Bucketing rains and strong winds unleash on Sri Lanka following months of drought. Taiwan typhooned. Typhoon Haikui devastates Taiwan as it makes landfall.
ඔබේ විශ්වාසය දෙනු සෙන්සුඩයින් දැන් ළඟමැති ෆාමසියෙන් ලබාගත හැක. Rhino Cement Roofing Sheets. හොඳම මෙලට කල් පවතින වහරයක්.
This is AdaDerana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and a warm welcome to you from AdaDerana's English News First at 9. I'm Jonathan Benedict. Let's get a look at our top story right now. UK-based television broadcast channel, Channel 4, announced that the telecast of a special documentary has been scheduled for tomorrow surrounding the Easter Sunday terror attack in 2019, based on information received from a whistleblower. However, a separate article previously released by The Guardian last month revealed that the same individual, a Sri Lankan national now living overseas, quoted by Channel 4, fabricated lies to build up a narrative for an application for asylum. Meanwhile, a recent interview with national security expert Professor Rohan Gunaratne at Hyde Park on AdaDerana revealed shocking evidence of a confession by one of the Easter Sunday bombers, revealing the true motive behind that gruesome attack. British daily newspaper The Times carried an article today stating that UK's Channel 4 News will telecast a special documentary, Sri Lanka's Easter Bombings Dispatches, tomorrow based on information from highly placed whistleblowers about alleged complicity by officials within the Sri Lankan government. The Times of UK says that a whistleblower named Hanzir Azad Maulana claims to have orchestrated a 2018 meeting between a senior military intelligence official Suresh Saleh and Islamic State-affiliated bombers to hatch a plot to destabilize Sri Lanka. The British TV station Channel 4 famously previously aired an investigatory documentary titled Sri Lanka's Killing Fields, covering the final few weeks of the civil war. The documentary suggested that human rights violations and war crimes were committed in the final stages of the war. The Sri Lankan Guardian, meanwhile, in an article published on the 12th of August, claimed that Azad Maulana, alias M. Mohammed Hanzir, the whistleblower named by Channel 4, had embarked on an effort to fabricate lies in his latest endeavours to seek asylum. Speaking during the latest episode of At Hyde Park with Indivari Amuwatta on AdaDerana, national security expert Professor Rohan Gunaratne exposed shocking evidence of a confession made by one of the Easter Sunday bombers, which was released by way of an audio recording during the Current Affairs programme.
A video where Zahran Hashim and his fellow attackers pledged their allegiance to what they believed was their faith and religion. Who exactly are these bombers?
The Easter Sunday attackers came from a cross-section of society. They came from if you draw across, from the rich, from the poor, the educated and the less educated. So it's a reflection of Sri Lankan society, because radicalization spread not only among the poor but among the rich. Radicalization spread not only among the poorly educated but the well-educated. In Shangri-La there were two bombers. One was Zahran Hashim, and there was also with Zahran Hashim there was Ilham, and there you can see in the image profile of Ilham, and his brother Inshaf attacked the Cinnamon Grand, and they were the sons of the wealthiest spice trader of Sri Lanka, Ibrahim Hajiar.
We have Mohammed Ilham Ahmed and Mohammed Insaf Ahmed, the two brothers.
Yes, absolutely. They are the two sons of Ibrahim Hajiar, the richest spice trader. They had a lot of money and they funded Zahran. In fact, I want to share with you that they were the primary funders of Zaharan Hashim. There was a man before that called Abdi who also provided funds to Zaharan, but the two main financiers were from these two brothers.
Ilham and Insaf, the two brothers, what were their targets on Easter Sunday?
Ilham attacked the Shangri-La Hotel, and Ilham attacked the target together with Zaharan. And Insaf, Ilham's brother, attacked the Cinnamon Grand Hotel. We also saw that Ilham's wife, Fatima Jeffrey, she also mounted an attack when the police came to question her, and that was at their home in Mahavila Garden. So in fact, in that one family, we saw two brothers, one of the wives of the brothers, and Fatima Jeffrey had an unborn child and another two children. So Fatima Jeffrey, when she detonated the device, the unborn child and the other two children were also killed.
Sacrificing in the name of what?
Fatima Jeffrey and Ilham and Insaf, they all believed that they are going to go to heaven. They believe that they will have an audience with God. They can take 70 relatives to heaven, including their family members. They believe that they will be forgiven for their sins and vices. The men believe that they will have 72 virgins, beautiful girls. So I think that all this has been created by extremist and terrorist ideologues. They are not a part of mainstream Islam. Mainstream Muslims do not subscribe into killing themselves and killing others.
Jamil came to Sri Lanka, and in 2014 he tried to travel to Syria, and he formed the organization called Jamiatul Millatu Ibrahim. Did they have the blessings of the ISIS leader Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi?
Jamil was in direct contact with another Sri Lankan who was with him in Australia, who was also radicalized in Australia, called Arus, and he was in constant touch with Arus. He was also in touch with other Sri Lankans who were there. As you know, a total of 32 Sri Lankans traveled to Syria, and when they traveled, the then Sri Lankan Minister of Justice told in Parliament about the Sri Lankan travel to Syria, and then of course there were Muslim politicians who accused the then Justice Minister of being racist. But I think that had they listened to the Justice Minister, Easter Sunday attack we would have prevented it. One of the brothers, his last message, and he says in the broadcast, you can hear it, what he says.
Shall we listen to the audio recording of one of the two brothers who attacked on Easter Sunday?
If I attain Shahada with the permission of Allah, I'll seek Shafa for my family and the ones who are close to me and the ones who fulfill my amana. I have taken a journey. It is the command of Allah to do jihad in the cause of Allah.
Firstly, this is not the thinking of the Muslims of Sri Lanka. This is the thinking of a very small group that has been radicalized by these foreign ideologies. What he says is that he wants to go to paradise and he wants to seek Shafa, that is, he wants to take his family also with him. And then he gives an example from history which is out of context. And he says that he is carrying out the command of Allah, the God, to wage jihad. Jihad means holy war.
Where is Salafi Wahhabism coming to Sri Lanka from, Professor?
Salafi Wahhabism comes from Saudi Arabia. But I want to share with you that Salafi Wahhabism has undergone huge change in Saudi Arabia after MBS became Crown Prince, Mohammed bin Salman. And now he has reformed Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia has changed, but where this ideology went, they have not changed.
To understand the thinking pattern, I remember you sharing with us in a previous episode too the farewell message of the entire group, including Zaharan Hashim, who expressed his allegiance to the IS leadership. Here we did see that except one, that was Zaharan Hashim, everyone else had their faces covered. If you may explain that to us, and if there are any others whose faces were uncovered and we could identify them.
Yes. Now you can see very clearly that in the photograph you have the Zaharan Hashim in the center, and all the others, their faces are covered, right? And at one point, one of the bombers, he adjusts his face, and that is Ilham. The reason I am making this public is because someone made an allegation that this is an artificially engineered artificially powered video. So I want them to know that this video has been certified by the Government Analyst Department, and I have made this video public. The reason I made this video public is because someone tried to say that this attack has been mounted by the Sri Lankan security forces. I spoke to government and I explained to them during the time I was Director General of the Institute of National Security Studies, and I made it public. And here you can see in the photograph Ilham's face. So if there are still people with more doubts, there's another several hours of video footage and audio footage that can be, audio messages that can be made.
Concurrently, a complaint made by the head of State Intelligence Service, Major General Suresh Saleh, following a statement that had been made by Reverend Cyril Gamini, was heard today at the Colombo District Court. General Saleh intimated that his reputation had been tarnished following the statement, which could have proved detrimental, as it was in the midst of a court proceeding regarding the Easter Sunday terror attack. In proceedings that were conducted today in the presence of the defendant, the prosecution demanded a sum of 50 million rupees as compensation for the defamation caused during a Zoom meeting on the 23rd of October 2021 by the International Justice Forum for the Victims of the Easter Sunday terror attack. Following submissions, the case was adjourned till the 25th of January 2024. In other news, Sri Lanka's state-owned liquefied petroleum cooking gas supplier, Litro, said that the price of gas will be increased from midnight to night according to the price formula, as prices in the international market had seen a spike. The chairman of Litro Gas, Mudita Pires, said that the prices of gas in the international market had increased by $100 in addition to the $80 increase last month. He further said that commercial and other gas cylinder prices will also be subject to price increments going forward. With the increase in gas prices globally, Litro has decided to increase the price of a domestic gas cylinder in the Sri Lankan market after keeping prices static for 5 months. As such, from midnight to night, the price of a 12.5 kilogram domestic gas cylinder will be 3,127 rupees, reflecting a price increment of 145 rupees. The price of a 5 kilogram domestic gas cylinder, which was 1,198 rupees, will be increased by 58 rupees to 1,256 rupees. The 2.3 kilogram domestic gas cylinder will also be increased by 26 rupees from midnight to night to 587 rupees.
මාස 5කට පස්සේ මිල අඩු කිරීම පස්පතාවක් කළාට පස්සේ තමයි පළවෙනි වතාවට අපි මේ 145කින් මිල වැඩි කරන්නේ. ලෝක වෙළඳ පොලේ ගෑස් මිල. ගිය මාසෙට වැඩිය මේ මාසේ ඩොලර් 100කට අධික මුදලකින් වැඩි වෙලා තියෙනවා. පහුගිය මාසේ ඩොලර් 80කින් විතර වැඩි වුණා. ඒ වෙලාවේ මිල රුපියල් 400 ගානකින් වැඩි කරන්න යෙදුණාට අපි ආයතනයේ ශක්තිමත්ව තබාගත්ත හින්දා තොග කළමනාකරණය තුල මතුවන වාසිය හින්දා අපිට පුළුවන් වුණා ගිය පාර මිල වැඩිවීමක් නොකර මේ මිලම පවත්ව ගන්න. නමුත් මේ වෙලාවේ ඩොලර් 100කින් වැඩි වෙලා තියෙනවා. තවත් රුපියල් 600ක විතර මිල වැඩිවීමක් වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. ඒ අනුව ගිය මාසේ මේ මාසේ දෙකම එකතු කළොත් එහෙම රුපියල් 960ක 980ක විතර මිල වැඩිවීමක් සාමාන්‍යයෙන් යොදන්න ඕනේ. කෙසේ වෙතත් අපි ගිය මාසේ මේ අවදානම දැකලා ටොන් 10000කට අධික ප්‍රමාණයක් මේ මාසෙට අවශ්‍ය තොග ගිය මාසේ තොගත් එක්කම වැඩිපුර ඇනවුම් කළා. ගෘහස්ත ගෑස් සිලින්ඩර් වලට අදාළවනේ මේ මිල වැඩි කිරීම වෙන්නේ වාණිජමය කාර්යයන් සඳහා කරන සිලින්ඩරේ සහ අනිත් සිලින්ඩර් වලදී යම්කිසි මුදලක් වැඩි කරන්න වෙයිද අපි බලනවා ඒකත් අඩු වැඩි වශයෙන් කොහොමද සුවපහසු විදියට මේ මිල වැඩි කිරීම කරන්න කියන එක.
The Lawyers Collective says that the legal community will continue to stand up for and defend democracy in the face of the current alleged pressures on the judiciary from the executive and the legislature. The representatives of the organisation mentioned this at a conference held today at the Sri Lanka Foundation Institute.
අපේ මිත්‍රයෙක් සමාජ මාධ්‍යයේ ප්‍රශ්න කරා කවුද මේ නීතිඥ සාමූහිකය පිටුපස ඉන්නේ කියලා. අපිට කියන්න තියෙන්නේ නීතිඥ සාමූහිකය පිටුපස කවුරුත් නැහැ. අපි නීතිඥවරු තමයි මේ ඉදිරිපත් වෙලා ඉන්නේ. අපේ නීතිඥ සාමූහිකයට වෙන අරමුණක් නැහැ. අපේ තනි අරමුණ තමයි ප්‍රජාතන්ත්‍රවාදය වෙනුවෙන් කටයුතු කරන්න. විධායකය අනිසි ලෙස අධිකරණය කෙරෙහි බලපෑම් කරන්නේ නැහැයි කියන එක තහවුරු කරන එක තමයි අපේ අරමුණ.
The judiciary is under attack. The judiciary is being cajoled. The judiciary is being threatened. Many things are being done to the judiciary to subjugate the judiciary to the other branches of the government. Now, we as legal professionals and others stand up for the judiciary, for the independence of the judiciary, because that is absolutely crucial for a functioning democracy.
Sri Lanka Pibitura Hela Urumaya leader Udaya Gamanpilla said that the government will not voluntarily give in to elections and therefore it must be demanded. Meanwhile, Tissa Attanayaka of the Samagi Jana Balawegaya said that President Ranil Wickremesinghe, contesting in the coming elections is not a threat. He further confirmed that the party has decided on Sajith Premadasa and he will be named as the common candidate in the upcoming elections. With that, let's take a closer look at what transpired in the political arena today.
සාමාන්‍ය රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ මැතිතුමාත් එතුමාගේ මාමා වුණු ජේ.ආර්. ජයවර්ධන මැතිතුමාත් මැතිවරණ සිටියේම ඇකිලීම පිළිබඳ ගිනස් වාර්තාවට සමසේ අයිතිය කියන දෙන්නේ. ඉතින් මැතිවරණ දෙන්නේ නැහැ. මොකද ආණ්ඩුව පරදින්න කැමති නැහැනේ. මැතිවරණ දෙන්නේ නැහැ. අපි ගන්න ඕනේ. මැතිවරණ ලැබෙන තුරාමේ සටන අතර වෙන්නෙත් නැහැ. අපි මැතිවරණ වලට සූදානමින් ඉන්නවා. ආණ්ඩුව සූදානම් නැහැ.
දැන් ඔන්න රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ එන්න හදනවානේ අර පැත්තේ. ඒ පැත්තේ අපේක්ෂකයා. කියනවා පොදුයි කියලා. මොන පොදුද? එයා ඔන්න UNP ගේ නායකත්වයේ රුවන් විජේවර්ධනට දීලා එයා UNP ගේ සපෝට් එකේ පොට්ටු නායකයන්ගේ සපෝට් එකෙන් අන්තිම වෙනකොට සජිබෙත් සපෝට් එකකින්. ඔය සජිතුයි රනිලුයි දෙන්නම නම් ඉල්ලන්නේ නැහැ ගියටවත්. අන්තිම සජිත්ට සිද්ධ වෙනවා රනිලට සපෝට් කරන්න.
රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ මහත්තයා ඉල්ලුවා කියලා අපිට කිසිම අභියෝගයක් නැහැ. මේ මොහොතේ සෑම දෙනාටම අදාළ වන පොදු අපේක්ෂකයා විය යුත්තේ සජිත් ප්‍රේමදාස මැතිතුමා කියන කාරණේ අපි පැහැදිලිව පක්ෂයක් හැටියට පිළි අරගෙන තිබුණා. අපි ඉතින් අනිත් දේශපාලන පක්ෂවලට තමන්ගේ අදහස් ප්‍රකාශ කරන්න පුළුවන්.
පක්ෂ නායකයා තෝරන තරණෙත් අපිට කිව්වේ අනිවාර්යෙන් එහා ඉදිරිපත් වෙනවා කියලා. ඒ වගේම පහුගියදා පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ තිබුණ රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ මහත්තයාත් දලසලත්වර මහත්තයාත් අතර තිබුණ ඡන්දේ නාවේදීන් එතෙන්දිත් කිව්වේ සජිත් ප්‍රේමදාස මහත්තයා ඉදිරිපත් වෙනවාම කියලා. ඉතින් ගිය වතාව දෙකෙත් බොරු කරපු එකාට තව සැරයක් බොරුවක් කරන එක අමාරු වැඩක්ද? බොහොම පැහැදිලිවම ඊළඟ ජනාධිපති තීරණයේදී සජිත් ප්‍රේමදාස උන්නේ ඉදිරිපත් වෙන්නේ නැහැ.
සමහර පක්ෂ තියෙනවා. බැලූ බැල්මට නායකයෝ දූෂිත නැහැ. බැලූ බැල්මට නායකයෝ අධ්‍යාපනය ලැබලා තියෙනවා. දැන් මොකද්ද ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ වන්නේ? කියුබන් පන්නේ. මේ දිනේ යන්නේ කාල් මාක්ස්, ලෙනින්, එංගල්ස්. ඕවා හොඳයි. ඕවා 60 ගණන් වලට 70 ගණන් වලට හොඳයි. එකපාරක් හරි දීලා බලමු. එකපාරයිනේ මේගොල්ලන්ට දීලා බලමු කියලා ගිහිල්ලා රෑ වැටිච්ච වලේ දවල් වැටෙන්න නම් එපා.
ඉදිරි අනාගතයේදී අපි මීට වැඩිය වෙනස් වූ ක්‍රියාපිළිවෙලක් ජනතාවට ඉදිරිපත් කරනවා. ජනතාව ඒකට කැමති නම් අපිට ඡන්දෙ දෙයි. හැබැයි මේ විදිහටම ඉදිරියට යන්න ඕන නම් ජනතාවට මේ විදිහ තෝරගන්නත් පුළුවන්. ප්‍රජාතන්ත්‍රවාදී රටක ජනතාවගේ කැමැත්ත උඩ තමයි ඉදිරියට යන්න තියෙන්නේ.
More news after this short break. Stay tuned.
ගොඩමට පෙරලි කරන බලපුළුවන් කාරයා මහින්ද්‍රා යුවෝ ටීමෝ වෙතින්. වැඩම ගොඩයි ගොඩම තමයි. ස්වරාජ් ට්‍රැක්ටර් ටීමෝ වෙතින්.
Welcome back. The body of a 53-year-old psychiatrist was discovered in Thalangama last night, with his cause yet to be ascertained. Police are now investigating the matter. Meanwhile, one individual was reported dead and 6 others were injured following a multiple vehicle accident in Ambilipitia. The driver of the car that caused the crash is confirmed to have been driving under the influence of alcohol. With that, let's have a look at more news in brief from around the country. The body of a 53-year-old woman who was a psychiatrist was discovered in the Thalangama area last night. The body has already been referred for post-mortem examination by the police. The death is suspected to be a murder, with police investigations currently underway. In other news, as a result of a multiple vehicle accident in the Ambilipitia area, one person has been reportedly killed while 6 others have been hospitalized. A car reportedly collided with 3 three-wheelers, another car and a motorcycle, resulting in the death of a 73-year-old individual. Police confirmed that the driver of the car was arrested for driving under the influence of alcohol. Meanwhile, an accident occurred due to the collision of a bus and a three-wheeler in Kalutara this morning and has claimed 1 life. The 52-year-old three-wheeler driver tragically lost his life following the deadly accident. The Sri Lankan Navy arrested 4 people engaging in illegal fishing during a search operation conducted in Trincomalee. The search operation also led to the seizure of a dinghy and unauthorized fishing gear used by the individuals. The individuals along with the dinghy and the fishing gear were handed over to the Kuchaveli Fisheries Inspector for further legal proceedings. A lorry with over 660 kilograms of smuggled kendu leaves and a suspect in connection to the incident were apprehended during a coordinated search operation launched by the Navy and the Norocholai police in Puttalam. The suspect, together with a smuggled consignment of kendu leaves and the lorry, were handed over to the Customs Preventative Office in Katunayaka for further legal action. Far Shipping, one of the world's largest and the largest Chinese shipping firm, has agreed to open up their recruitment card to Sri Lankan nationals per a statement by the Minister of Ports, Aviation and Shipping, Nimal Siripala de Silva. The minister made these remarks when a delegation of the Far Shipping Company, including the managing director, Mr. Yu Yong Jun, met at the minister's office. Yong Jun observed that many Sri Lankan trained young sailors can be recruited to his company in China. With that in mind, he confirmed that a round of discussions with stakeholders involved in the country's naval sector will be held regarding recruitment methods. Jun emphasized this by confirming that they are willing to hire young people who have graduated from naval training institutes in Sri Lanka for on-the-job training and then hire them for permanent service. Minister Nimal Siripala responded by saying that a study course, which includes the Chinese language, can be explored by domestic naval schools to further facilitate this development. The meeting concluded with the minister thanking the conglomerate for providing employment opportunities to the youth of this country and in the other naval and other fields. In stocks news, the Colombo Stock Exchange closed in green as a result of price gains in counters such as Commercial Bank, John Keel's Holdings and Sampath Bank. Today's all-share price index gain of 218.22 points was the largest daily gain in 5 weeks. The index closed at 11,374.64 points. The more liquid S&P SL20 gained 80.62 points to close at 3,234.27 points. High net worth and institutional investor participation was noted in John Keel's Holdings, Renuka Agri Foods and CIC Holdings. Mixed interest was observed in Central Finance Company, Haley's Fabric and Capital Alliance, whilst retail interest was noted in Agarapatana Plantations, Brown's Investments and LOLC Finance. Market turnover during today's session crossed 3.3 billion rupees. The capital goods sector was the top contributor to turnover due to John Keel's Holdings, with the sector index gaining 2.98%. The share price of John Keel's Holdings increased by 8 rupees and 25 cents to close at 187 rupees. The food, beverage and tobacco sector was the second highest contributor due to Renuka Agri-Foods and Agrapatna Plantations. The Central Finance Company and Haley's Fabric were also among the top contributors. Foreigners were active today and closed the next session as net sellers. In our news segment, the market outlook, Sri Lankan financial markets experts say that market activity is expected to increase in the coming days as the conclusion of the domestic debt restructuring progress draws to a close. In our new segment Market Outlook, market expert from Capital Alliance, Udishan Jonas, says that secondary market interest rates on short-term tenures can also be expected to come to a drop in the coming days.
The equity market closed marginally lower during last week, with activity levels reducing to about 1.8 billion rupees in terms of turnover versus 4 billion rupees of turnover that we saw on average during the previous week. The lower levels in terms of activity was as a result of a spike in interest rates that we saw during last week, and also the announcement of a delay in terms of the domestic debt exchange conclusion. During the week, we saw interest in Haley's and the finance sector, while overall we saw net foreign selling of about 200 billion rupees last week. The reason for the interest rate increase during the week was a 200 billion rupee bond auction which happened during last week, where the pension funds were not active, which resulted in a spike in terms of interest rates of about 1.5% during the week. This resulted in treasury bill rates for the 1-year tenor increasing by about 27 basis points and the 3-month tenor increasing by about 51 basis points. Coming into this week, we saw market activity improving today, with turnovers levels crossing 3 billion rupees and active trading being witnessed in the banking sector and John Keel's Holdings. We expect market activity to improve in the coming weeks as more certainty comes around the domestic debt exchange conclusion and the completion of the IMF staff review in the next couple of weeks. As a result, we also expect a decline in terms of interest rates to come in, especially on the shorter tenor where rates have been holding high, and also expect the long-term rates, which spiked up by 150 basis points, to revert back to where it was in the previous 2 weeks.
Let's now have a look at how the rupee traded against other currencies during the day. Global shares rose on Monday, lifted by growing expectations that the Federal Reserve would not raise interest rates anymore, and further by hopes that China's steady drip feed of policy stimulus might stabilize the economy. A holiday in the United States kept a lid on activity ahead of key readings on US services and Chinese trade and inflation later this week. More policy action is expected from Beijing, including relaxing restrictions on home buying. MSCI's broadest index of Asia-Pacific shares outside Japan added 1.1%, having climbed 2.3% last week, thanks in large part to a 1.3% rise in Chinese blue chips. The MSCI All-World Index, which last week staged its strongest weekly rally since mid-July, was up 0.3%, while the dollar was about 0.2% lower on the day. Investor sentiment in the tech sector will be tested this week by the initial public offering for chip giant ARM Holdings, which is aiming for a price in the range of $47 to $51, valuing the company between $50 and $54 billion US. S&P 500 futures and Nasdaq futures rose between 0.2% and 0.3%, while European stocks neared one-month highs. Stoxx 600 was up 0.6%, led by gains in drug maker Novo Nordisk, which last week briefly overtook French luxury group Louis Vuitton as Europe's most valuable company, and Dutch chipmaker ASML. Meanwhile, the Dow Jones was up 0.33%. Welcome back. Following the southwest monsoons over Sri Lanka, the prevailing rainy weather patterns in parts of the country are expected to continue further over several districts in the island. Consequently, landslide warnings had been issued to parts of the country. Meanwhile, the Met Department forecasts the prevailing rainfall and strong winds to continue in certain parts of the country, while, and may I add ironically, the sun is due to be directly over several areas in the country such as Bambalapitiya, Maliboda and Pottuville. Several areas in the island, including Colombo, continue to experience heavy rainfall yesterday. Strong winds which blew across Colombo and its suburbs last night resulted in the collapse of trees in several places. Several lowlands and byroads in the Badagama area in the Galle district were inundated owing to the overflow of the Ging Ganga. The meteorological department stated that showers or thunder showers can be expected at times in the western, Sabaragamuwa, southern, central and northwestern provinces. Meanwhile, fairly heavy showers above 50 millimeters are likely at some places in the western and Sabaragamuwa provinces and in the Galle, Matara and Nuwara districts. A few showers are likely in the Jaffna, Malna and Anuradhapura districts. Strong winds of about 40 to 45 km per hour can be expected at times on the western slopes of the Central Hills, western, southern, northwestern, northern and the north-central provinces. As such, the National Building Research Organisation has issued a Level 3 red alert for landslide risks in the Ehaliyagoda Divisional Secretariat Division of the Ratnapura district. Furthermore, an amber landslide early warning has been issued for several areas in the districts of Kalutara, Kegalle and Ratnapura. Meanwhile, Level 1 warnings issued for several areas in the aforesaid districts have been extended further. The landslide early warnings will be in effect for the period until 10:30 p.m. today. However, the Department of Meteorology says that many provinces may experience rain tomorrow. Parts of the island received rain while other areas continue to suffer from drought. The Department of Meteorology announced that the sun will be directly overhead several parts of the island tomorrow. Accordingly, the nearest towns over which the sun is overhead tomorrow are Bambalapitiya, Maliboda, Kepatipola, Badalkumbura and Pottuville. While Sri Lanka is having its share of rains, things seem to have taken a dramatic escalation in Taiwan. Over 40 have been injured after Typhoon Haikui ripped across the island, uprooting trees and forcing nearly 4,000 people to be evacuated from high-risk areas. Hundreds of flights cancelled and businesses closed as the storm announced its devastating welcome. The storm, which made landfall on Sunday on the east coast, was the first to directly hit the island in 4 years. 200 km/h winds ensured that over 160,000 homes are currently without electricity, with the Taiwanese government scrambling to restore power. Typhoon Haikui has made landfall in eastern Taiwan, unleashing torrential downpours, whipping up fierce winds and plunging thousands of households into darkness. Residents hunkered down indoors in the dark, staying away from windows as 200 km/h winds sent toppled trees and dislodged water tanks flying in the air. Taiwanese President Tsai Ing-wen said that the storm would be the first in 4 years to cross the central mountain range, running north to south of the island, a path that could lead to landslides in surrounding counties. Today, cleanup crews scrambled to restore services after 160,000 homes lost power the previous day. Businesses, schools and other places remained closed on the island, while domestic flights and ferry services to surrounding islands were cancelled. Taiwan's southern and eastern regions were the worst hit, while the capital Taipei on the island's northern tip received rains. That wraps up my bulletin this evening. Join us again for more up-to-date news on events locally and internationally tomorrow at the same time. This is Jonathan Benedict wishing you a blessed Tuesday ahead. Good night.
For news and information you can trust 24 hours a day, visit AdaDerana.lk.